broadcast? Are we broadcast? We're broadcasting!
Woo! That's right, you geeks. Welcome back into the Echo Screen, the official podcast of the Clan of the Grey Wolf. This is the point in time when we pretend that, number one, we know that what we're doing, which is really a stretch at this point. But also, we pretend like we have tremendously good theme music playing behind, which hasn't been written yet, but I promise you it's definitely on the way. Yeah, good. Thanks for that. That's great. As always, I am your host, the Commodore, and with me today on the Echo Screen Live, the very first edition of the rebooted version of the Echo Screen Live, is the witty, the learned, the wise, and ever vigilant Rue. How are you today?
Fine now that we, finally got this darn thing going. It's amazing. We were actually ready at 9.
We were ready to go at 9 o'clock.
We were like, holy crap, we're ready on time.
Ready to rock and roll.
Click the button and
no broadcast.
Squat.
And we sat here 3 times. If you could have been here, it was great. We were just, okay, ready? And we're it. No, and it didn't happen.
No. Well, we were actually broadcasting to the marathon stream.
We were. If you were on the marathon stream, which I have no idea why you would be.
You've just been waiting for us to play some more CDI games every night at 9 o'clock.
You just got a great treat.
Yes.
Probably a heart attack. Yeah, unfortunately, that probably is not too many of the folks out there. So anyway, we're very glad to have all of you with us. We know it wasn't a ton of great notice this time, but we're using this almost as like our pilot episode, right?
Yes.
It's our pilot episode.
Well, it's our second pilot. Our first pilot was like last spring.
Right, but you get what I mean. It's the pilot episode of the reboot of the Echo Screen
We're like
Live.
Star Trek.
That's right.
We get 2 pilots.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
That's a great way to think about it, and an excellent topic for next time. And now we're going to have the Enterprise fly around us. Or just make noise like it is. There you go. Very good. Can you move it, please? Thanks. Don't make me sound like such an idiot. Excellent. Well, so 2 pilots, and we're just have a few changes. We're going to do a little bit in terms of format. Well, thanks for completely bleeding me out now, so no one will hear what I'm saying.
No problem.
Anyway, well, at least you didn't just scream con. That's better. Anyway, so we're going to have a little bit of change in formatting. We're going to talk about some current events. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about a topic like we always do. But we also want to set aside some time so that you guys can talk to us, either asking some questions, giving some feedback. And we'd love to invite you, if you have questions during the course of the stream, to private message us in the
chat. So that's COTG.
You can say it.
Well,
he warmed up. He was ready to go.
I'll edit that out and post it.
Yeah, he was ready to go.
So first 20 minutes is going to be news. Second 20 minutes is going to be a big topic. And the third 20 minutes is going to be the question and answer segment. And we're actually hoping to have some sort of Skype-y thing going on where you can actually have like a call-in show. Whoa.
Wow.
But yeah, for tonight at least, just private message us in the chat, COTGW, with your questions or topics you might want us to touch on for the last segment of the show.
And the point is, guys, we're really going for a completely new and revamped kind of show. We realized after a while that we, of course, really missed the fact that we were doing Echo Screens.
But what we were... so much.
Don't ever say that on camera again. And
Baby gimme.
And the memory of the marathon lives on. But hopefully we can generate some new memories just like that and some new Clan of the Grey Wolf memes here on the Echo Screen. We're looking forward to that too.
It's meme-tastic. But
we also knew that many of you were missing the Echo Screens and we're kind of clamoring for more. And in our effort to kind of reboot and revamp the site, which you might or might notice some changes with recently, we thought it would be a great idea to start doing a lot more Echo Screens live. Therefore,
we're doing Echo Screens live.
I'll tell you what, why don't we shut up talking about the show and actually launch the show? So one of the things that we really wanted to talk about is current events. We wanted to bring that, I do some of that stuff in the Weekly Ringer. I get to talk about it, a little more topical stuff.
As current as you can be a few days late.
How
it's
it
the
works.
21st century.
It is. It really, really is. I feel like the guy in the AT&T commercial that was so 3 days ago, right? Mm-hmm. But today, we're throwing all that medium stuff behind us.
Yes.
Because this is a live show, right? If we didn't start broadcasting in 10 minutes, guess what? There wouldn't have been a broadcast. Right? We can't just post it later and say, oh, it happened and you missed it. So
yes,
today is an interesting little day in the history of the internets, and there's a very particular reason why.
Yeah. If you've been noticing at all today, it's all anyone's been talking about. People won't shut up about it. Obviously, we're talking about the South Carolina Republican primary. Huntsman's out.
Yeah, I don't think that was really what I was going for.
Oh, sorry.
Not that not that might not be interesting, but that's not really what I want to talk about.
No.
What I do want to talk about, though, is if you've gone out to Google or Wikipedia. Wikipedia is actually a really good example, but if you've gone out to Google today, you've seen, or Wikipedia or many other sites, you've seen a lot of the kind of blackout graphics, or in the case of Wikipedia, taking down the entire English version for 24 hours, or whatever they've decided to do now. So sorry for all of you that are trying to write papers right now. I know that's got to be terribly arduous for you, but there's a reason that they're doing this, and the reason that they're doing this is because they are protesting in their own way against SOPA in the United States, which is /PIPA. And before we turn this into a full-blown history class, Rue, why don't you give us the 30-second iteration of what SOPA is?
All right, so SOPA is the Stop Online Piracy Act. PIPA is the Protect IP Act. Essentially the same thing.
15 seconds.
Okay. SOPA is the
work so well.
SOPA is the House version. PIPA is the Senate version. Why are there two versions? I don't really know. They just originated in different chambers. The idea being that, in theory, to protect, to stop online piracy, basically there's some somewhat draconian rules involving linking toward foreign websites that may host pirated content. Basically, one of the big problems with this thing is that sites could be shut down if they don't take care of supposed violations within about 5 days.
There you go.
And that could affect these large sites like Wikipedia, like YouTube, like Google, and you don't have to have any proof that there is a violation actually occurring. All you have to do is say, hey, you're doing this, and then within 5 days you would legally have to take it down or stop that, or your own site would be taken down.
And although that is not wholly, unprecedented, the entirety of the bill or bills itself is that really starts in a unique place. And we're going to talk about this for probably the entire length. Sometimes I think for the current events, we actually will talk about events with an S, but today it's important we talk about this because I think everybody's thinking. So we'll take the whole time to talk about this. It's a really interesting, I think, topic because it starts in a place that I think all of us can agree from in some form and capacity, which is that intellectual property, unless you're Chinese. If any of you are Chinese out there, sorry. Which is that intellectual property should be protected. Right?
Okay.
Can we all start there?
I thought you were going to go on some racist rant.
No, I was just going to go on some racist rant
like
about how I can't stand Chinese
like
people.
you normally do.
Yeah, right, exactly. And
No, that's the funny thing is that I think virtually everyone, at least everyone in public, says, no, piracy's bad,
right.
Yada, yada, yada. This is just a completely
draconian... But it's not necessarily that... I'm not even making the argument that piracy's bad. I'm just saying that intellectual property should be protected. That's where we're starting from.
Right, sure.
These are a bunch of very well-educated and refined men, I'm being very generous, saying something very simple, which is that intellectual property should be protected. And now that we have this wonderful internet of sharing technology, sharing information, it hasn't cured cancer like they all told us it was going to do in the 90s. It hasn't done all those amazing things, but it has connected us. It has given us a lot of access to a lot of information.
It's given us live web shows.
It's given us live web shows, and what worth are they?
None
whatsoever. But anyway, it's given us the potential to download a lot of things that we probably shouldn't have downloaded. If you were going to protect all IP the way that you should protect it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, well there you go. He has no idea what I'm talking about.
Nope.
But some of you probably do. In any case, it starts from a place I think that is pretty equal in agreement. I think where the argument really rests is how they're actually going about this, right?
Right. And pretty much all of these online sites, whether they're blacked out or not tonight or today, have come out against this. The Electronic Frontier Foundation and, like I was saying before, Reddit and Google and all the bigwigs.
Even many of the
Twitter,
people
Facebook.
Even many of the people that and companies that have been infringed upon,
right,
potentially through some of those mechanisms that come out against it.
Now, however, I have noticed people kind of freaking out a little bit.
Sure.
Now, I think we can all also agree that this is bad legislation that should not pass. Right?
I can agree with that.
Right. I mean, we're not in Congress, so
it's bad legislation. Yeah,
right.
It is bad legislation.
But to overstate cases in any political argument, or in fact in any argument in general, undermines the case. So what does SOPA do, supposedly? What does it not do?
Right. Fair enough.
If we were here and we suddenly started playing some Dragon Force,
Which I don't know why we would, because
we would never do that.
We'd never ever do that.
then that would not fall under SOPA.
Right.
However, that does fall under something you may have heard of, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act.
Oh, of course.
Right.
I actually have the field guide in my bag.
And as most people on YouTube could probably attest to, the DMCA can, come and bite them because someone could just go to YouTube and say, hey, you know what, this is my copyrighted stuff, you got to take it down. And YouTube's like, okay.
Right.
But the thing is that with the DMCA, you can counterclaim. And basically, if you officially counterclaim, then YouTube gets to put it back up. And then at that point, if the first claimant can actually prove that you are stealing their stuff, they can take you to court.
Right.
So there's a mechanism. There's a mechanism.
There's a mechanism. However, I could make a point from the other side, and that is
it's kind of a crappy mechanism, but
it's kind of a crappy mechanism.
It works, kind of.
But at the same time, the reason it's such a crappy mechanism is because you could figuratively, if you wanted to, hypothetically, get up there and just start creating a bunch of YouTube accounts and start posting whatever the hell you want, and start posting stuff as faster than people can shut it down, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And actually, just to interrupt for a second, My Crazy Productions is asking, are we planning on going black at all or censoring the logo? No. We are a tiny little site. We think that as far as promoting awareness of this, there's not much we can do. I think most everyone who has come to this site or watches our stuff probably has already heard about this. You're all tech-savvy people.
And maybe what we're doing right now
is
our part.
This is our part right here. We're kind of talking
Just
about
maybe.
it.
If we're doing it right, then maybe this part will be our part.
We're going to solve all the problems.
Exactly.
So,
all right. So I think what we're saying is that SOPA has a number of different issues in that it seems to me to be kind of antiquated legislation for a very contemporary set of issues.
You're right.
That the internet raises. Right?
And that's part of the problem. It's a part of the legislation that has, I think, pretty much been agreed to be taken out already. So that's one minor victory is a problem with DNS.
Sure.
There's basically an idea that service providers would have to, if a website was found in violation, would have to take off the name, blah, blah, blah. And it really didn't do anything because you could just put in the IP address to go to the same site regardless.
And guess what? Service providers also, if service providers, and I know a little bit about this, if service providers have to actually go and examine that traffic, that means service providers actually have to do deep packet inspection on every single thing that they run.
Right.
And to do that, would just be a monumental task, the likes of which we have no capability for.
And not only that, but it opens all sorts of security flaws throughout all of America's big internet companies. We have a few.
A few of them.
Luckily, that seems to have been taken out.
Right.
Or it will be taken out.
So I think there has been... You talked a little bit about this being overblown, and I want to talk about this on both sides because I think it's important. You've seen a backlash of sorts from folks that are really violently against this. And, and first of all, there's nothing wrong with being against this bill, by the way.
We are.
We are both against this bill.
And we hate talking politics. We try to stay far away from it.
This is not a political website.
No.
Despite your desire to talk about the primary before. It's not important. We're here to talk about video games and geek stuff, not politics. But this affects all of us, right?
Yeah.
Because if we can't connect to the internet and get the stuff that we do like that's not even infringement, that's cutting out of the things that we do, like Wikipedia, for example, or even something like Google, which I think all of us have used to some extent at some point.
To Googs.
How's your Google foo? Mine's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Anyway, the point is, if it starts taking away from that, it's going to affect all of us, right? So it's something that we can all kind of be certainly aware of.
You know what? And what's saying we're not political? It is quite astounding the bipartisanship in not only being for but against this bill.
It's true.
It's really strange because you never see this.
You never see this against any kind of bill, and that's and those of you that are unfamiliar with the American political process, normally on a bill you have it produced by a party that might have a co-signer with another party, but generally things are really delivered kind of in a two-party, dual-party, almost dichotomous way, where this party wants this bill, this party doesn't, or vice versa.
And they might compromise a little bit, or one might shove it through.
Right.
Regardless.
Right. Even if it's against the rules.
This is really bizarre in that. So PIPA started in the Senate by a Democrat.
Right.
Patrick Leahy, Democrat, Vermont.
Yes.
And then that started last spring, and then a few months later, SOPA was introduced in the House. Lamar Smith, right?
Lamar's. Wait.
Smith doesn't seem right.
Smith doesn't seem right either.
Alexander. Who's Lamar?
Lamar Alexander.
Who
That's
is
right.
Lamar
There you go.
Smith? Lamar Alexander, Republican of Texas.
I don't know, but if you are Lamar Smith, we're very sorry.
Right.
We are very sorry about
And
that. Lamar.
there are co-sponsors for both bills from both parties. It's very strange.
Yeah.
So some more